Hello, everyone. I am Claudiu Murgan, the host of the Spiritual Inspire podcast, and my guest today is Philip Mountrose. Pioneers and innovators in the realms of spiritual growth and healing, Philip Mountrose and his wife, Jane Mountrose, are holistic coaches, energy healers, and authors of numerous books, including the latest one, The Loving Power of Your Soul, a guidebook for realizing your true potential. The mission of Awakenings Institute, their nonprofit organization, is to facilitate the unique gifts that each individual has, where all are nurtured in allowing their gifts to blossom. Their extensive website is gettingthrough.org/holistics. Philip, thank you very much for joining me today.
Great being with you, Claudio, and the audience.
And indeed, your website is very thorough, has a lot of information, free resources for anyone who is interested to give it a try. And
Right. We've been developing it for about 25 years, so it keeps growing and growing.
yes, just to put things in perspective for everyone, you used to be an educator and Jane an architect. What determined you to give up these opportunities that will settle one as part of the upper middle class?
Right. Well, some people come to the holistic spiritual realms sort of after they what conventionally doesn't work. And we were doing pretty well as an educator, myself and my wife as an architect. But really, we got there as a secondary interest to our passions quite young. Was spiritual growth and awakening, enlightenment, those kind of ideas, those kind of drives. And we met actually in a Gurdjieff Ouspensky, a spiritual group in the 1970s, decades ago. And from there, after we left the group, which was a whole experience in itself, sort of cult-like, but very profound too, we then needed to support ourselves, and we were able, fortunately, to be educators and architect, and that was not really our passion, and we kind of burnt out, especially my wife, at it. Like a lot of people do that, and then they go for spirituality, but we were doing that always on the side. Besides all the profound ideas we incorporated from Gurdjieff and Ouspensky, the Russian sages from last century, which we still teach and use in our programs. We then went into channeling, we went into energy healing, and we realized healing was the missing part of awakening from the Gurdjieff Ouspensky, like what do you do with your negative emotions, with your blocks, and that was a big missing piece that realized that healing, shadow work, such was essential for awakening. And eventually on the side, we started doing healing and coaching individually. We trained and learned, and then started offering trainings in the 1990s. And we now still do holistic spiritual coaching and healing live programs and certifications. But we have a lot of little courses and articles and written numerous books, including The Loving Power of Your Soul, which is really the core of our work, which many holistic people miss. Everyone says it's kind of like something, oh yeah, that of course, Jimmy, you want to connect with your soul, but how many people know how to do it? And meditation may or may not be a way there. You may meditate and still miss your soul's messages. So we were very practical, grounded. We like things that work, that everyone can understand. And when you do this more and more, as I'm sure you know, you become more awakened to your soul's vision of the world, which then co-creates with your everyday life, and that shifts things into a different reality and a different, wider perspective.
Yes, I mean, these days there is so much spiritual knowledge and information on the market, and there are so many teachers and gurus that it's very hard for one to select a specific path. And sometimes we just need the one, two, three steps in order to make it easier for us. Try it for a while, not for a day or two, for sure, for maybe a year or two. And if that strategy and process doesn't bring any um, returns, any benefits, you don't see any evolvement, then you can look for the next one. So you mentioned the Russian philosophers and gurus. Have you been
George
enchanted,
Gurdjieff. Mm-hmm.
yeah, by anyone from the East, from India, or from any other parts of any other country from that part of the
No,
world?
not directly. That was probably our most direct setting. We've joined some other groups and teachers and studied a variety of things over the years, as you can imagine, doing this for over 30 years. And we're not the type of people who say our approach is the only approach. And we don't really endorse a guru approach, although you may have a teacher short-lived. When we were in the Gurdjieff group, I said, is this something, you graduate from? Like, it's like a wonderful learning experience. And the guru thing is you never graduate. You're
Yes.
always a member of the guru, unless maybe you can become your own guru. And that's a pattern and a model that's out there. And there's some value to that, I think, short term, but there's a lot of traps and limitations and blind spots in it too, as we know.
Yeah, and even the real gurus will always say that they keep learning and they find new
Right.
paths on their connection to God's divine spirit. So when they say that and they are sincere, you know that you are listening to someone you can learn from, and this is real.
You never arrive, you never claim, I I mean, some people say I am God,
Yeah.
we are all God. You can make that sort of viewpoint, but I think that's really not the best approach, because it can be egoistic. And we're part of God, we're part of oneness, yes. And going back to I wanted to comment on your previous, that good point you made up about practicing something for a while. So we do teach and recommend mastery, and that's what we do in our trainings, teaching people to go deeper. And it starts with that connection with your soul, which is surprisingly missing even among many holistic people. There's sort of a nod and a wink to it, but how do you do it? And that's what our new book is about, in our life's journey of how to do that, different practical, easy ways. And we can go through that in a couple minutes, maybe an example. And then to practice regularly, and you can then use that awareness for healing and direction. And when you said there's so much out there, which indeed there is, especially in the internet days we're in,
Yes.
then you get a guidance of where to go, of what to do, because you're following your soul and your intuition. You're not kind of lost in the surface or following others. Yes, learn from them, grow from them, use them as resources, but don't use them to replace your own inner wisdom and growth.
Yes, indeed. We need a bit of guidance and clear path on what we decide to choose for spiritual advancement. That's for sure. Yes.
Right. So you use the tools, that the energy healing tools that we teach or others do, like holistic EFT. We have a system, spiritual kinesiology. You use those tools to get clear in yourself, to go on to your next step. So you're a little clearer, a little wiser, a little more connected with the oneness every day.
Yeah. So you mentioned these two techniques, the spiritual kinesiology and holistic emotional freedom. How exactly do you apply them when you engage with a group or a one-to-one client?
Yes, I'll briefly go over them and maybe give some examples or demo here. The holistic EFT emotional freedom techniques, which we were early adopters and have written some of the earliest books on it, is a tapping technique that's been proven to balance the system by using affirmations based on something where you have a block, like, even though I have this fear, I love and accept myself. So you make an affirmation that's targeted to your issue, your blockage, and it can even be physical. And it balances the system, and it's been proven now, and millions of people have used it, and that's why it's so popular. We have a holistic brand where we add some holistic elements of tapping, integrating the left and right brain and the head and the heart. And that seems to make it go a little deeper. And more on that, Claudiu, is that can be a great all-purpose remedy when you're stressed, when you want balance, when you go into meditation. But of course, some of life, the challenging things are deeper than I'm just stressed. Well, why are you stressed? We don't know.
Yes.
So we have techniques to help people go deeper and find the core of issues, which are unconscious and buried. Interestingly enough, they find out, like, people, why do some people get post-traumatic stress and others don't, even who've gone through wars or terrible experiences? Well, it usually dates back to an earlier trauma. So, and those are often buried, or I didn't even remember that. But it's interesting, we don't remember things that are influencing our whole lives. And actually, in a way, what we're here to find out and discover, but they've also sort of limited our possibilities until we deal with them and heal them. So you take an issue, like, I don't know who to follow. I'm overwhelmed by all the information, let's say. So you do that and you tap on a spot, make an affirmation, even though I have this fear, this anxiety. And then the second part of the affirmation, while you're tapping, this is one of the parts, is you say, you can say, I love and accept myself, although there are other things to say. We like to use our miracle reframe, like anything is possible and miracles are happening now.
Mm-hmm.
When you say that, what is that like for you, by the way, Claudiu? When you say that, say anything is possible and miracles are happening now, would you, how does that strike you?
Should I say it out loud right now?
Why don't you say it out loud? Yeah, I'm curious. This is a little on the spot experiment, if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
no, no, not at all. So anything is possible and miracles are happening now. A little bit light feeling.
Light feeling. So
Yeah.
when you think about it, let's just address it to that overwhelm of options and information out there, right? So someone, say, is looking and trying to figure out, if holistic EFT or whatever, is right for them, or where to go next. So you say anything is possible and miracles are happening now. And then we'll do some of the tapping. That's balancing the key pressure points. So we're tapping the top of the head and the eyebrow, the side of the eyes, under the eyes. Looks a little strange, the chin. These are key points. It's kind of easy to do, though. And you breathe.
Yeah, in fact, you answered my next question, because there are two options here. You know what the trauma is, and then you connect that to the pain, to the blockage in your body. But also the other option is you have the blockage, you know that it might be or assume that it's an energy blockage, but you don't know what is related to. So this is when you or that person comes and applies your technique in order to
Right.
identify
The
the
tapping may
connection.
reveal it, but we also have other things which go a little more extensively in the teaching about how to get detailed. So, I mean, if you're really overwhelmed, I mean, if it's very stressful, I mean, if there's something deeper into finding, like, the right class or the right podcast or the right thing, you're overwhelmed. I mean, there might be some deeper things in there, or there, might just be a minor sort of garden variety things that we face. So that might be just tapping for a smaller thing, or a tune-up where you're tapping the points. That might be sufficient. But if you want to go deeper, we have deeper ways to go through it. And I think that might be the segue to the second technique. I'm going to cover a lot of territory, which we could spend, weeks, we could spend hours on each one. The second topic, just real brief intro, is our spiritual kinesiology system, healing system we've developed over the last few decades, my wife and I. It works very well. Let me give you an example. There was a woman I did a demonstration conference to, and she felt she had a resentment toward what used to be her best friend 7 years ago. And she went into a spiritual business with her, and her best friend embezzled the funds. So she felt very hurt and angry at her friend. Now, this was 7 years ago. This is a lady who meditates every day, she said. So, if you want to expand that out, how many people have things that happened to them 7 years ago, or 17 or 30 years ago, that are still holding them back, because just meditating and breathing on it doesn't necessarily change your inner dynamics and your soul awareness of it. So by doing what we're about to do, the reframing and anchoring with the soul, connecting with the soul, which our new book, The Loving Power of Your Soul, different ways to do that. You bring that energy, Claudiu, into your issue. her case was her resentment or anger at her friend, her former friend. So she did that. She connected with her soul. I'll show you how to do that, one of the ways in a minute here. And after a few minutes, I just asked her, because this is a very quick process. You just connect with your soul, which is very brief, but it's tangible, specific. It's like a lever, like if you're just throwing stuff against the wall, nothing may stick. But if you know specifically what you're doing and where to touch and where to hit, it works, right? Then I asked her, I said, well, how, when you're thinking of your friend now, how are, what's it like? She was very angry again when she thought about her initially, just like it had just happened. She said, well, I'm fine now. That's okay. So basically, because of seeing things from her soul's perspective, genuinely from a profound place, she had shifted into forgiveness and released it. Now, these things happen to me all the time. And I kind of, I still am a little stunned that it can happen very quickly because, something you've been holding on to for years that it's very difficult. Could you possibly release it quickly? Well, I can't say always easily quickly because some of it may be very entangled with different things, of course. But yes, sometimes you can if you're open to it and willing.
Yes. I mean, sometimes I went through the process of forgiveness for things that happened in the past. And I think that I totally put that incident behind me. But there are also instances when they surface and I realize that I'm not angry, but I still find myself thinking about them. So in my mind, there is a residue there, which was not completely released in order to put it aside for good.
That's very accurately stated, Claudiu. So you can say, I forgive, or like this lady, I forgive my friend, I forgive my ex-friend for what she did. You can say it, till you're, quote, blue in the face, and it might make a difference. It might not make any difference. I would imagine she may have said it before in the 7 years, I wouldn't have been surprised. But if you don't get the targeted emotions from a deep place, it's like you're too much on the surface. You haven't really got to the core. It's kind of like taking the weed out from the surface and it keeps growing back because you didn't get to the root of it.
Yeah, it's like the ego will allow you to say it, but he'd still be there in your subconscious, won't allow to go forever or for good. So yeah, you can say whatever you want. I'm still in charge. So
right. And the forgiveness, it may take a certain willingness and readiness, because sometimes things are sort of like a fruit that needs to ripen. You need to be ready to forgive. There may be an element of that. But from the other side, what we found, and this is sort of like spiritual protection, it's the same answer. Do you need spiritual protection? And as you advance, are there different entities and energies from external people and internal forces that could attack you? Well, the answer to that is the same thing as the forgiveness. If you go deep enough and you're soul connected enough, then you will naturally be at a place where you're probably ready to forgive or be protected, because you understand it at that level. And then you say, oh, wait a second, it doesn't make any sense to hold any resentment. There's no, that doesn't make any sense anymore in my heart from a sense of love and bigger picture and my soul's plan. So
you said that you are going to share with us.
Yes, let's do that. Let me do. We in our recent book, The Loving Power of Your Soul, we have 6 practical ways to connect with the soul. Let me do one of them here, and then we can even apply it if you want to apply it to something that's a little bothersome for you. If you want to just kind of run it through yourself to do an example, I don't know if any little irritant or any annoyance you'd like to kind of clear out in the moment.
Yeah.
Okay. So we could just do it's sort of a brief meditation. And this is what we learned years ago, Jane and I, a version of this from some people, Barry Snyder, Karen Anderson, and they taught us a version of this. And we've used this and modified it over the years. It's a very natural process where you start breathing into your heart and relaxing. So if you just take some breaths into your heart and relax. And when you breathe in your own energy. And when you exhale, you release anything you don't need. So as everyone is breathing in pure, clear energy, you may pick up things along the way, and you breathe out, letting go of any debris or things you picked up that might be around your energy field. Exhaling, breathing in slowly through your nose into your body, relaxing your body, and exhaling. All the cells in your body begin to relax a little more. And as you breathe into your heart, you're just breathing in some wonderful, loving, peaceful energy into your heart. And you exhale again, and you're breathing in these loving energy into your heart and all the cells there and in your whole body, permeating them, filling them with love and peace. And as you're breathing more into your heart, you're just sensing a loving connection to your soul. This is an energetic sensing. You just open to it, just invite it in, just allowing it in. And as you allow in this presence of your soul, you may sense more acceptance. People feel often expansion, more understanding. And you're breathing in that soulful awareness into your heart, into your whole body. Good. And one more part you can open above your head, consciously connecting to the whole universe. And as you let the whole universe, God, oneness come into your body and energy field, now with the perfect love and understanding into your whole body and energy field, with the perfect healing, insight, balance for you now. So you're breathing and allowing that in consciously now into your whole body and energy field. And you may get a sense or understand it as a color, a shape, an image, a message. In fact, you can even receive a message if you want. If you're saying, my soul, if you would like to give me a message now, you can. And you may get a message now. Anything coming through for you, Claudiu, yet? It's fine if there's not. Just can be a feeling.
I don't see a message, but I have the top of my head wide open for sure, allowing the energy coming in.
Feeling wide open, you said?
Yes.
Okay. Well, let me share my message. And it's fine if people don't have a message. And the more you do this, the more you are attuned to messages. If that's what you'd like to receive, it may not be your way of doing it. So as I and everyone opens to their soul in the right way for them, you breathe in more light and love now in the presence, knowing that this infinite energy is available to you now and at any moment, at any time. It is always there and will always be there from now until the end of time, as it exists now and beyond time and space. And you can gently merge with that now in the way that's right for you. Okay. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and feel more connected using that experience and the messages or energy that's right for you.
Thank you.
What was that experience like for you, Claudiu?
The channel that was open was usually narrow, but this time I felt it a lot larger at the top of my head.
What was larger?
So the channel opening at
the channel, like the area that comes to the connection was larger.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a sensing of a channel. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Yes.
So it widened or grew. Okay, good.
Yeah.
And you can fill that more with whatever you want too, the right energy and understanding too. So that's the soul part. And that doing that more and more is what we've mapped out and we teach in the spiritual stages of evolution. Because the more that channel is active, to use your words, channel or soul awareness, the more you are connected with your life in a conscious way. And the more you do that, the more you can start healing yourself with that energy in many ways, not only the ways we teach holistic EFT and spiritual kinesiology, but there are many modalities that work, of course. So you start to heal and clear the shadow and inner child, those trauma parts where your life isn't working and the unconscious stuff.
Yeah.
And that will give you more expression in the next stages of spiritual growth, more able to express yourself more clearly as sort of a channel for your higher self and co-creating with why you're here, to help yourself and other people and your purpose.
Thank you. Philip, what do you view as the most important element in personal and spiritual growth?
I think it's really connecting with the soul in whatever way that is. And there is kind of stages to get there. And just to map out the stages of how you might connect with your soul. For many people, sort of in the status quo mainstream, it might just be starting to question authority, just the mainstream doctrines of whoever they're following, whether it be a religion or a group or a science or a CNN or whoever they're following, whatever. And not that there's not value in all of that, but it's generally done indiscriminately, wholesale as your identity at first in the earlier stages. And if you get past those earlier stages, which people, of course, listening to your wonderful podcast are, then you start to experiment and look at different things and try on different things and maybe study different things or wear different outfits or different routines and so forth. That's sort of an experimental thing. Not that you don't keep experimenting and questioning throughout the whole journey, like we said at the outset of the interview here. And that at a certain point, and this is how the important things about this connecting with the soul, you do get more urgency or priority to connect consciously with the soul, because you need that to clear those deeper things. Before, you could kind of just go and, maybe you do some things which you don't really like about yourself, or you're doing a lot of obligations, or you're just following other people for the heck of it. You're doing a lot of things which are okay, good for the meantime, but at a certain point, that doesn't cut it. I remember one time when I was a school teacher, I was in the teacher's room, lobby room, and a teacher said something, and I just said something kind of nasty to her, just popped out of my mouth. It's almost like someone else spoke it. Have you ever had the experience where you did something that was kind of self-destructive or negative and you didn't know why you did it, but it was often pretty automatic or reactive?
Yeah.
But at a certain point, when you do enough of those things, you say, I need to find out why I'm doing that and start to change. That's not acceptable anymore. And there may be addictions and bad habits and toxic people and all kinds of things that need to be looked at and faced and maybe changed and go on a different path. And when you do that, that's when you're connecting with teachers like us, or maybe listening to your podcast. You're saying, hey, I'm ready to go deeper now. This isn't a hobby anymore. This is, I really want to go deeper and make a bigger difference in this lifetime and follow my soul's plan and awaken more. And then you do more of what we just did a few minutes ago, things like soul centering, and do that regularly as we kind of tie things together here and proceed from there.
Yeah. And I think connecting with our soul will show us that life is an amazing experience. And I think we kind of lost that feeling, and we might kind of live under a mass psychosis experiment right now. So do you think that we don't perceive life as an amazing experience?
Yeah, life could be an amazing adventure if you follow this route, if you follow your soul's, because your soul's guidance is going to lead you to amazing things and amazing people and experiences out of the ordinary. It's like your tunnel vision, the automatic way we respond. We're missing a lot. We're not smelling the roses. We're missing beautiful little simple things along the way. We're not meeting people's eyes or talking to the the cashier, the person who's serving us. We're missing a lot of our life, but just going in the next thing, the hurry and worry stuff. So it can be an amazing adventure if you start to use resources, heal yourself, connect with uplifting, inspirational, soul-based material.
Yes. And you also recently you are offering a new course, the Oracle reading for developing intuition and spiritual growth. Can you please expand on that as well?
Yes, as I mentioned, being 33 years in the holistic field, we've looked at and done many things, my wife and I, and we pioneered, we've invented and developed a lot of energy healing techniques that work very well. One thing that we did, I mentioned in the Gurdjieff Ouspensky group, we were there and it was all about awakening, but it wasn't about healing. And after that, we were exposed to different things. And one of them, this was now in the 1980s, so decades ago, was oracle reading, which some people are aware. I think most people are aware of it, but that was very interesting. The Viking runes and the I Ching are well-known ones. The Viking runes are little scrawls which you can make on little clay tablets, and people would throw them and sort of read into answers about any question you had. And an oracle could be a person, like the Oracle of Delphi in ancient Greece, which would be sort of like a medium or channel, or they're decks or stones or things that you draw to get answers from, or divine answers. So we actually looked at that, studied that, and actually offered a little mini course years ago. And just recently, Claudiu, we've come back to that oracle reading. Things have led us, because as we said, following our soul, life being an amazing adventure, one thing leads to the next, right? And oracles, there are now literally dozens and dozens and dozens of oracle decks, if you're not aware of. We went to one of our favorite metaphysical stores last week on our trip to the redwoods, the beautiful redwoods in Berkeley, California. Anyways, this store had over 100 oracles, oracle cards, these decks. And Tarot is probably the most famous one, next maybe the I Ching. And some people do Tarot-based decks or just their own deck. And so how do you figure out? So we started experimenting with them, especially a year ago, very intensively, a little differently from what's out there. Some of the things out there can be rather either superficial or generalized or fortune telling, or things that don't have necessarily a lot of reliability or depth. But if you do it with this more soulful way, it can be an extremely intuitive tool. I'll show you this in just a moment. So you can, if you have the right cards, and we've looked at different cards, and some of them are extremely profound. These people, there's some people who created decks who are wonderful artists and channels and writers who've compiled these decks somewhat based on Tarot, and many of these decks and things come from hundreds of years ago, and oracles in the form of a person or seer or medium or a card or stone has existed hundreds of years before Christ. I mean, these in ancient Greek, the Delphi oracle. So this is something that's been around a long time. So if you choose an oracle, you can get a lot of intuitive awareness if you do it from the right place. And I'll show you what that is. You would take not a yes, no answer, or tell me my soulmate, or, my perfect job, or predict my future, which then becomes another disempowering kind of psychic thing. We've always kind of avoided psychics, not because they may not be very powerful. It's just they can be disempowering. Like, my psychic told me to do this. Well, what does your soul tell you to do this? I don't know. I don't connect my soul. I just listen to the psychic, So an oracle could be the same way. It could be the oracle said this, and I'm going to just, or someone who reads an oracle for you tells you your quote future, or reads it for you. What we like to do, and I think I'll do one with us right now, is have an interactive, very intimate, context dependent. In other words, what's going on in this moment now in this interview, and what comes forward.
Okay.
And people have had some amazing, even life-changing results or insights of things that we haven't. And you can combine it with channeling, which I can do too. if you want to do that, because some of the cards link to different angels or enlightened ascended masters. So the cards have both of them, so you can connect with the master and the message written in the card, or even connect with that energy, or further, if you're open to it, even channel that information yourself.
Yeah, that would be great. We've never done it before. So
comments or questions? I know I gave kind of a lot of information. I don't know if I was clear. And
yeah.
We have this new course where we're teaching this, and I'm kind of excited just because people want to know, hey, what works? We mentioned energy healing, which is extraordinary. People want to develop their intuition. Every holistic minded person listening to this wants to develop their intuition, right?
Yes.
But how do you do it?
Yeah.
This is one incredible way, as I'll show you. So I'll do a couple. I'm just going to because this gets you into sort of a very intuitive in the moment thing. You shuffle a deck. And so we try to ask open-ended questions, something to know, that might be useful for you or the readers. Do you have anything in the top of your mind, Claudiu, that might be useful for us to know now that we'll just kind of reflect on and whatever this card is going to lead us to? What we like to do is more of a personal, say, how could, for instance, tell me if this sounds about right. How could the person watching this interview right now get the most from this interview? Developing their intuition.
That's a fair
spiritual
question.
growth,
Yes.
spiritually speaking.
Yep.
Would that fit? Would that make sense?
Very good. Yes. Yeah.
So that would be something that would be not predicting the future, locking you into, someone telling you what's going on. Okay. So the first card from this one deck, I'm doing Sacred Destiny deck. I'm just shuffling these cards, and it's a very beautiful card, just seeing what comes up. So I pick a card, from the middle of the deck. I don't know what the card is. This is just crazy. I only say it's crazy. It says diligence, is because I did this earlier today for myself, and the same card came up.
Yeah.
And this happens a lot. By the way, I don't know how many, this is how many cards, and this one came up twice in a row today. Diligence. So it's very important, apparently, for me and for everyone. Diligence. There's a swan or a crane flying over the fields.
Yes, I can see. Yeah.
Yeah. So with the diligence, and I know the card has to do with being diligent, like planting fields, and sometimes fields take a while and may have to go fallow in previous times to yield results.
Yeah.
Okay. So what does that mean? Well, I think I'll just give my 2 cents, or it might be more than 2 cents worth, and then you might add. Because right now you sit with that, and you can read from the deck, read the short description, which I gave a summary of. And the way it works to trigger this not only awakens your intuition, and you use your intuition to get what you're experiencing, everyone's experiencing this moment right now as they observe their mind and their right brain and heart opening, but it develops your intuition. You have to use it, and by using it, you have to develop it, like exercising. You have to use your muscles, and when you use them, they develop.
Yes.
So in order to get the most out of this information today I'm sharing, it takes some diligence. It's going to take a little bit of further research and meditation and healing. Yes, I'm sure everyone has gotten some instant messages and maybe a few ahas already, but to get really more to yield it from the crop that you're setting, if you let the seeds from what we're saying be planted and develop, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some energy. It's going to take some patience. And then it's interesting, there's that bird, I'm not sure what that is, the crane flying over, and then like your soul flying over your life, you start to see the big picture and know that in time those fields will grow and will yield wonderful crops in abundance. But it's going to take some time, and some of the crops and some of the seeds may not grow.
Yes, it's a very telling card. And I usually say that spirituality is mainly is maybe one of the few fields and initiatives and approaches in life where you have keep doing what you are doing and not giving up. It's not like in technology. You tried 100 times in this particular way. Now you have to change something because otherwise you'll get the same results. But in spirituality, you might change very little in order to advance to the next level. But you have to keep doing it over and over again for the rest of your life.
Yes, and you may adjust and get new information input. It's what we learned in the Gurdjieff-Ouspensky school, what we teach called the ascending octaves, like a musical octaves. There's going to be breaks, C, do breaks, and if it's worth pursuing, you're ascending, you're going to have these challenges where you need to rest or change course or add more input to keep ascending, or you deviate and you descend and you go off track. If it's worth ascending. So if spiritual healing, like I'm sharing, is worth doing, it's worth going deeper into it. And as I said, if you want to evolutionarily grow and awaken, you do need to face and figure out what to do with your shadow. A lot of it's in the shadow, it's dark, so you need something to shine a light and unconscious, which means an effective healing modality that, if you work with your soul directly, is very powerful. That powerful beam, like the lady who dispelled her resentment toward her friend for betraying her. So if you have that powerful energy, you see like like the crane flying over the field, you see it flying over, you see the big picture, and you know that the crops are going to grow in the right time. If you keep flying high with your soulful crane, your soulful bird.
Yes,
And
yes.
take that
So
into your
so many
everyday life.
metaphors from one card only. So yes, a lot of expansion in the heart and in the mind for sure.
And synchronicities. I mean,
Yeah.
just that I drew the same card out of a deck of, I don't know, 50, 60 cards. I'm not sure how many are in this deck. It says 52 cards. What's the chances of picking the same card out of 52 at 2 times in a row? But I've done things like this in other cards. I keep getting the same cards. Yeah. And anyway, how did that strike you? Just as a, I mean, in terms of what you thought of oracles, I don't know how much you had an experience with oracles, but what we just did, how did that relate?
I didn't have I don't have much experience with oracles in private. I met one or two different um, reunions, but I was just on the side watching, not being involved in the process. So with you, as I said, with this card is very telling. It's exactly what I think we need. Those who are watching this podcast and other similar podcasts and want to develop spiritually, I think they got the message, and they have to keep going and not giving up on this amazing path, because otherwise they're gonna go back to their starting point, and that's not an option.
Yeah, then they have to do it again, start all over in the next lifetime.
Exactly. So, Philip, you and Jane developed so many amazing solutions, courses. They all apply or could be applied to um, corporations, because people right now these days are in a lot of pain, a lot of stress. Have you seen this willingness from the corporations to come forward and invite you their locations and have sessions for their employees which require such attention?
Right. We actually haven't been venturing into the corporate field, although this would actually, if to those more awakened or more open, should I say, corporations probably would fit very well. We haven't just connected with that part of society, although this certainly would work if they would be open to it, because it is very practical too.
Yeah.
Most of
Yeah.
the people we work with are holistic practitioners, more individual people who are on individual paths. And they're people from all walks of life. They're realtors, they're lawyers, but not so much the corporate world itself. Although, as I said, this would would work for them very well if they were open to it. And if someone invited me, it would probably be worth looking into that.
Yeah, I wish you luck with that because I think it's a big um, avenue. People are looking for something like this, especially since they're working from home and they don't have too much interaction with their colleagues. And there is a build up pressure, build up stress, build up of everything pretty much, and they need something to release somewhere, collapse under the pressure. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Pressure cooker. Yeah. They blow out. I agree. And I think the younger generations, younger than my generation, are more open to being purposeful and making a difference and thinking of the bigger picture and other people more.
Yeah. Philip, how do you see a not necessarily perfect, but an optimal connection between us and the God of our understanding? What's your perception of that connection?
I think a lot of it is I'm thinking going. We could almost replay what I said in the connecting with our soul, that message I got a few minutes ago. But I think as you accept being in the moment and what is happening to you and seeing the possibilities in it, uh, because God speaks through us, we are part of God. So what we're doing, our values, our higher values, love, the things we need to transform the darknesses into light and love, that opportunity from moment to moment, whether it's just doing more mundane, routine things or exciting things or uplifting things, all of that, whatever the range is in the moment, to do that with an open heart. And that's part of it, opening your heart. If you're more soul connected, you feel more open heart. What would be an open-hearted way? What can I learn from this? How can I get into balance in this moment to make the most of it?
So, are you optimistic about the transition that humanity is going through right now? We see a lot of dark events and dark side pushing forward, trying to take over the kids in various aspects of the day-to-day life. Are you optimistic that we're going to surpass this and we're going to put everything behind us in a positive way?
I'm hopeful. Just like the oracles, you can't guarantee the future. That's why fortune telling is limited. So to being optimistic, yes, and as others have said, this may be the darkest hours before the dawn, because there is a lot of darkness, there is a lot of crises, there is a lot of fear, and a lot of that may be hopefully coming to the surface. It's not new. It's just shining a light on what's been sort of hidden. To hopefully be exposed and transformed with enough people, and I am optimistic about the younger generations carrying the torch and the baton and advancing us all.
Yes, what I would like to see honestly from the um, younger generations is more action, but not action in the way we saw related to destroying artwork, destroying statues. That doesn't make any sense. And to me, I don't think
Right.
gives any positive message. What happened,
Right.
happened. You personally, the person trying to drag down a statue, you're not affected. You didn't live in that time. You are living now in the present. You have to assess the situation in the present moment. So that's why, as you said, I'm hopeful that the younger generations will act more consciously and more responsibly and not wait only for us, the older generations, which we created the mess, to solve every single problem. I know might sound selfish, but I really want them to act up and
Sure.
be on their
Well,
own
it's
feet.
in everyone's best interest if they do it and we do it together, and it's that as Margaret Mead famous saying, a small minority changes the world. It always has, it always will. So that critical mass, when enough people gather energies and are spiritually speaking, like the show's wonderful name says, when enough people are spiritually speaking instead of more divisively speaking, we're going to see the change happen even quicker.
Yes. Philip, we are approaching the end of the interview. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts is find a way to connect with your soul through our work. Loving Power of Your Soul new book is an easy way to access it. Or another way, connect with that regularly so you have a sense of who you are and your next step, because it will guide you like the Northern Star, that inner infallible compass that we all have inside our hearts, which, as that meditation I did earlier says, the heart connecting to the soul. So work with that and trust that, and find other people who support that, and you support other people who are going in that direction. And to the people who you disagree with, kind of give them some space and forgive them. They know not what they do, and do the best you can, because that's all you can do.
Yeah, agree to disagree.
Yes.
Philip, thank you very much for all the work you do. Thank you to Jane as well, because you work wonderfully as a team. Thank you for your time and for all the practices you developed and the good work you are doing.
I appreciate that. And I do have a little free gift for the listeners if they'd like to go further with this kind of approach that I've been describing. And it's a little free gift of a spiritual healing resource kit for people who are spiritually speaking, who want how to do holistic EFT. There's a nice little spiritual coaching aliveness wheel, which is part of soul development, and a few other free resources. So the way they get that is go to this tiny abbreviated URL, tinyurl.com/spiritual-kit, tinyurl.com/spiritual-kit for that free spiritual healing and resource kit.
Thank you. We'll have the link in the description of the video. Thank you very much once again.
Great being with you.
To my guests, thank you for watching. Share it, like it. Download a free copy of my book when you visit my website. And until next time, love and gratitude.